Let me tell you something. Every single person starts their journey somewhere. My story didn't start in a nice house with a white picket fence. No, sir. My journey began at the very bottom. I grew up poor, bouncing around in foster homes and youth homes because, for me, there was no family to go home to. The state became my parent, and that's a tough road for any kid. You learn to be hard because you have to be. You learn to survive because nobody is coming to save you. It was a life without a safety net, where one wrong step meant a long, long fall. And believe me, I took a lot of wrong steps. My childhood wasn't about playing outside until the streetlights came on. It was about figuring out where I belonged in a world that told me I didn't belong anywhere. This led me down a path that a lot of folks never come back from. I found trouble early, and trouble liked my company. From the age of 14, I was in and out of the system, starting with a juvenile penitentiary. As an adult, that pattern continued with county jails, adult penitentiaries, probation, and parole. It was a revolving door, and I kept walking right back through it every time. The fuel for this whole mess was alcohol. I started drinking when I was just a boy, around 12 or 13 years old. It wasn't just something to do on the weekends. It became a part of who I was. A hard day at work meant a trip to the bar. A good day at work meant a trip to the bar to celebrate. Every road led to the same place, a bar stool and a bottle. This habit led me to 6 OWI offenses. 6 times I got behind the wheel when I shouldn't have. It's a miracle I'm here to talk about it, and an even bigger miracle that I didn't hurt anyone else along the way. You see, when you're living in that cycle, you don't think about the future. You're just trying to get through the day. You don't think about building a life. You think about your next drink. My thinking was all messed up. I had accepted that this was my lot in life. I was the guy from the wrong side of the tracks, the foster kid, the ex-con. I had a master certification as an automotive technician, something that should have given me a great life. But it took me 6 years to finish a 2-year program because I couldn't get out of my own way. I was stuck in the mud, spinning my wheels and digging myself deeper every single day. Everyone has a moment when you look in the mirror and you don't recognize the person staring back at you. My moment came when I was facing my 6th OWI. I was looking at going back to prison, and this time it would be for a long while. I sat there, and for the first time I was truly tired. I wasn't tired of the cops or the judges or the system. I was tired of me. I was tired of the choices I was making, tired of the life I was living, and tired of the constant disappointment I felt in myself. I knew deep down in my soul that if I didn't change right then, I was never going to. The real battle wasn't in a courtroom, it was in my own mind. One day after a particularly hard day, the urge hit me like a ton of bricks. My truck practically knew the way to the bar on its own. It was a magnetic pull. But this time, something was different. I fought it. I literally argued with myself out loud, telling myself, "Don't you do it, don't you turn in there." Instead of pulling into that familiar parking lot, I drove past it. I went to a gas station and bought a couple of coffee energy drinks. It might sound small, but that was the biggest battle I had ever won. I had broken the pattern. That small victory was everything. It was proof. It was the first piece of evidence I had that I could actually do something different. I realized my brain was programmed for failure. Just like a machine on an assembly line, when a certain situation happened, my brain automatically produced the same result. Bad day, go drink. Stressed out, go drink. Happy, go drink. It was a simple, destructive program that was running my entire life. I knew right then that if I wanted a different life, I had to rewrite the code. I had to become the programmer of my own mind instead of just letting the old program run. Getting sober wasn't a one-time decision. It was a decision I had to make every single day, sometimes every single minute. It started in October 2015. I didn't have a grand plan. I just knew I couldn't have that first drink. I had to create new responses to life's problems. Instead of running from my feelings with alcohol, I had to sit with them. I had to learn to deal with stress, anger, and even happiness without a bottle in my hand. It was the hardest thing I've ever done, but that one decision to drive past the bar and choose a different path was the first step toward a life I never thought was possible for someone like me. Changing your life starts with changing your mind. I had this big realization while working a job I got through a temp agency. I was at an ice cream plant running a machine that made popsicles. I watched this machine all day, and it was all about programmable logic. If a stick wasn't in the right place, the machine would stop. If the syrup was low, an alarm would sound. Every action had a pre-programmed reaction. And it hit me. My brain worked the same way. For years, my programming was set to self-destruct. I had to learn how to open up the control panel on my own mind and start making some changes. So, how do you do that? You start small. You have to identify the bad code. For me, the code was, when I feel stress, I drink alcohol. The new code had to be, when I feel stress, I will go for a walk, or I will call a friend, or I will drink a coffee. It's about creating a simple if-then statement for yourself. If this happens, then I will do that. You have to consciously and deliberately choose a new action over and over again until it becomes the new automatic response. It feels unnatural at first. It feels like you're fighting yourself. But every time you choose the new path, you're weakening the old one. While I was fighting my 6th ODI case, I made another decision. I decided to go back to school. I enrolled in a welding and metal fabrication program. People thought I was crazy. Here I was, facing prison time, and I'm signing up for classes. But I knew I had to keep moving forward. I couldn't just sit around and wait for my fate. I had to show myself and the world that I was serious about changing. I poured everything I had into that program. I studied harder than I ever had in my life. I focused on learning a new skill, on building something with my own 2 hands. It gave me purpose when I needed it most. And you know what happened? I graduated with Dean's List honors. Me, the kid who was a ward of the state, the guy with a rap sheet as long as my arm. I proved to myself that I wasn't stupid or worthless. I just had bad programming. By focusing on school, I was actively overwriting the old code. I was replacing thoughts of despair with thoughts of accomplishment. I was teaching my brain that I was capable of success. Each good grade, each completed project, was another line of good code, making my new operating system stronger and more stable than the old one had ever been. Years of bad decisions had left me with terrible credit and mountains of debt. You can't build a new life on a shaky foundation, and money is a big part of that foundation. I knew I had to face the mess I had made. So, just like with everything else, I started with a simple plan. I got a notebook and wrote down every single dollar I owed. It was a scary number to look at, but you can't fix a problem until you're willing to look it square in the face. It was time to stop running. I created a budget for the first time in my life. It wasn't complicated, it was just simple math. What's coming in and what's going out? I cut out everything that wasn't necessary. No more eating out, no more buying things I didn't need. Every extra dollar went toward paying off my debts, starting with the smallest one first to get a quick win and build momentum. I learned to live on less than I made, which is a secret that rich people know and the rest of us need to learn. It was a slow and painful process, but with every debt I paid off, I felt a weight lift off my shoulders. I was buying my freedom back. This whole journey taught me one important thing: you are not your past. Where you come from does not have to decide where you're going. I came from poverty, foster care, and prison. I was an alcoholic with 6 OWIs. By all accounts, I should be another statistic. But your past is just a story. It's up to you to decide if it's the whole book or just the first chapter. You have the power to start writing a new chapter today. It doesn't matter how deep in a hole you are. You can always start climbing out. It starts with one decision, one small change in your thinking. That's why I started my YouTube channel. I'm not a fancy creator with a studio. I'm just a guy with a phone sitting on my couch, sharing my story, because I know there's someone out there who feels just like I did. Someone who thinks it's too late, that they've made too many mistakes. I'm here to tell you that it's never too late. You can get better, you can fix your finances, you can get sober, you can change your life. You just have to believe it's possible and be willing to do the work. The journey isn't easy, but I promise you it's worth it. Just get started.